Good morning. I'm going to pause for a minute because I just got told it takes time for you guys to join. So we'll just take a minute. I've been running, getting back here. Had to drop off my son, his dentist appointment. Okay, let's see. So, good morning. It's Morning Oasis. Today, let's see, what is today? Today is Monday the 20th. Monday the 20th. Good morning, Kimberly. Today is one of those days where I have like all this energy. I feel really awake, really alert, really high on the energy. Good morning. You're on a holiday? Oh, of course, it's a holiday, right, today? So my husband's also home on a holiday. Today is the very first time in all these years that he is taking my son to his morning appointment, to his dentist appointment. Thanks, Jessie. I'm also doing something different today. I'm using the iPad instead of my phone because my phone is so annoying. First of all, it doesn't upload the video right away. It takes like all day and into the evening, and so I'm like, well, the iPad never leaves the house, so that doesn't matter. And second of all, it is so annoying having text messages and phone calls pop up while I'm in the middle of the show. So we're going to start using the iPad. It's a little different. It's kind of bigger. It's bulkier. It's got a different camera angle. When I put it up where I normally put the phone, it makes like... It's like looking down on me because it's just so big. It doesn't allow me to rotate the orientation. So there's a lot of little things I don't like about it, but that's okay. We'll just move forward. Yes, it's awesome, Kimberly. I was so excited to have him taking my son. I was just like, oh, God. And it's still backwards. Yeah. So, I can't do anything about that. You guys get to see what I look like to myself in the mirror when I look in the mirror. That's all. Now, I do have 3 card pulls for this morning. Jane Ellis and Lisa McShane and Jessie. I have you. Is that correct? Did I get that right? Did we miss anybody from last week? Last week was like a blur with that surgery going on and everything shifting. And by the way, remember next week I'm gone all week long. I'm personally on vacation supporting my husband on a work trip. So let's get going with card pulls. Let's see, Jean Ellis. Now, Jean Ellis, good morning, Andrea. She's a woman who's a pioneer in this work and in doing this kind of work. She's been doing it for the last 20 some odd years. She helped create or worked in an institute over on the East Coast that developed a lot of our heart opening practices. And I did an interview with her when I was doing my show. What was that show called? Tales from the Path. It was a storytelling show where I would talk with people who do this work and how they came on the path. How did they come into a path of service? What was their story around that? And she was one of the people that I interviewed, and she did a session on me, and the interview ended up going quite long. It was like, gosh, it ended up being an hour-and-a-half long show. But the session that she did on me was one of those many steps towards deeply healing my heart. It was a powerful healing experience. You can find that show on our YouTube channel under the playlist Tales from the Path. You can also find it. I posted it in the Healing Pathwalkers group, so it's available there too. I think I just posted it last week, so it shouldn't be too far down there. She's just great. She's one of those people that's just so full of love, and oh God, it was awesome. That was an awesome session. And I wanted to take a minute really quickly to say, we tend to get in this path. A lot of the people that I encounter on this path talk about how they don't go to anybody else, or they don't see other practitioners, or if they do, they're really super selective about it. And there's a lot of fear around other practitioners and what they're doing. And, the way I look at it is, I kind of view myself, I have all these locks in place all over the place, and these locks are locking away little bits of myself. And all the people I encounter have a key. And we all have lots of keys too. We all do. But we don't all have exactly the same keys because we're a unique fragment, a unique piece of the infinite, a unique finite bit of the infinite. And by coming together and bringing our gifts to each other and sharing what we can do with each other, we unlock these pieces for each other and for ourselves. And so I will never be somebody who says, only work with me. You're only safe working with me, which is what my former teacher told me. I won't do that. And I also don't only go to one person or only seek it myself. I love support. I love what people have, what they offer for each other. That said, while doing so, I use tools like my compass, my guidance, my connections, my feeling of truth resonating through my body while I'm working with people so that I can be discerning about where their filters lie, where they're clear, where the channel's coming through, what is applicable to me, how much of this goes through for me, and usually it's most of it in some way. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and Jean is one of those practitioners. If you're struggling to really get into that heart space and open up and feel love and feel loving, she's one I would highly recommend working with. Really, honestly, she's a beautiful soul. So I'm going to pull a card for Jean. Jean, my Shadowscapes Tarot wants to talk to you. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull as it's ready. So funny, because that's just what we were talking about. So it's the Three of Cups. This is community. This card represents community. You know, this thing is in my way, and I'm just going to move it. One of the things that I love about the Shadowscapes deck is that the symbolism really speaks to me. The water, that community is something that we don't often take time to think about. We take it for granted. It's all around us. It's our community. We don't spend a lot of focused, intentional time thinking of the community and really thinking about how it supports us and holds us. It's the fluid medium through which we communicate, through which we express, through which we soar or fall. And so to have this circle of three women mermaids all coming together with this vessel, each holding a vessel of offering into this circle of this connection with each other. So it looks to me like you are in a place right now, Jean, where you're releasing and building your ideas around community, shifting your community. It sounds like you've had some upsets in the community around you and had to make choices and decisions to both bring out some people from your community and bring others in. So it's time to focus in on the community feel. What's within that circle? What is your tight circle? And how is it supporting you? And how is it not supporting you? So let's see. Lisa McShane requested a card pull. Now, I'm going to address something because she posted it. I'm not sure. To me, it doesn't look like it's frozen, but if anybody else is experiencing it frozen, I would love to know. So it's funny also, while we were talking about community, I don't know if you guys noticed, the lighting got very pink and red. That's that Archangel Michael energy coming in, and he is supporting that loving feeling, that feeling of safety, that feeling of connection, that feeling of interconnection. So yeah, and then when we're going to talk about this next piece, we're getting blue light, this blue clear communication, which is more Gabriel. So Lisa McShane requested a card pull from Thursday, I believe, because I didn't come on Friday. And she posted a comment that she wanted to respect another listener's space and feeling like that this is their special space, and she realized that she shouldn't invade on it. So again, this is that community, right? Now, I have no idea, obviously, what the issue between these two individuals are, or why one individual would feel that they can't connect with because of another individual to protect them. But this space is a wide open space. I don't even view this space as my space, and I'm the one creating it, right? I'm the one opening it up and building it. I don't view this as my space. I view this as a communal space, the space where those who are actively and consciously seeking to build their awareness, seeking to build their daily practice, seeking to build their unity connection, can come in, including myself. And there are sometimes people who pop in here who I know, and I'm kind of like, I might not hang out with you on a daily basis. I might not want to interact with you, but you're welcome here because you are a part of the whole, and this is a space for the whole to come together. So, Lisa McShane, your card, let me see, I'm not feeling it. No, I'm not feeling it from the tarot deck, so... Ganesh hasn't come out for a while, and he does want to talk to her. So we'll pull a card for her from Ganesh. And I hope you guys all had a good weekend. Thanks, Andrea. I see that you said there's no problem on your end for it. Oh, it's interesting. So instead of having the comments come up on the screen itself, they are down below in this. This is very interesting. A whole different experience. So, Lisa, your card is Promise of the Future. I know it's backwards. Let's see if we can get it without the reflection. Oh, that's awesome. Alex, how is your dog doing? I hope she's doing okay. I sent some energy over there. Alex's little dog ended up with an unexpected spinal cord injury, and she's paralyzed. I hope that the swelling has reduced and that injury is starting to resolve itself. That was, I wish I had had more energy on the day when you requested help. I was lost in the sea of surgery. Okay, so Lisa, Promise of the Future. You know, one of the things that we tend to do is, and this is just popping, so I'm going to go ahead and say it, is we get stuck in that space of looking to when things will be better, that in the future things will resolve, in the future we will have what we're looking for, in the future things will be what we're wanting them to be. And like, when is that future time? You know, have you ever held on to the future? You know, a lot of people will ask me to do predictions or readings for the future, and I'm pretty uncomfortable with it. I rarely do it. My sister, in fact, asks me quite a bit to give her some predictions. I indulge her because she's learning and growing, and it's kind of funny, you know. She's not going to hold it against me if I'm wrong. So, and I'm always telling her, you know, I'm flawed, I'm fallible, it could totally be wrong. She's still paraplegic, but I'm calling different foundations and looking to see where I can take her to get surgery. Alex, I'm so sorry. Maybe we'll work on, you know, inflammation and stuff at one point over the next day or two. Or maybe we'll do a special show for that. Maybe we'll do like a special little jump in later. So, but Promise of the Future. This is something that is huge right now. As we come into this space where we recognize that the future is now, as much as the past is also now, we are starting to find that things that we project forward are not coming to fruition as easily and as comfortably. So it's really about bringing it into the now, because the now is all that there is. When I teach about using your psychic gifts to look along the timeline, to look back, to look forward, to look out, one of the things that we talk a lot about is what actually are you doing? Who are you? What is this experience that you're having? We also deal with this when working in the Akashic record, because the Akashic record is that record of all time, right? It's of everything that your strand of expression has ever experienced in all planes of existence. It's all recorded within that Akashic record. So it becomes about recognizing that what you are is this focal point of light. I like to think of it like, how you get a laser pen in meetings and it's showing you, trace the path, this is where you're at. That's what you are. You're this focal point of light, and you're looking at this point, this time. This is me right now. This is where I'm at. And when you start to become conscious of your focal point, you can begin to shift it and look up here or look down here, right? You can look into different places. This is also the concept behind remote viewing, essentially. You're taking your focal point of attention and focus, and you're shifting it and looking at different things. You're calling into focus your cards of experience. Bashar talks about how what we are doing is every microsecond we are flipping between these reference points of expression. We think of it as a continuum. We think of it as this continuum that we experience like watching an analog video. But in reality, it's more like a slideshow. And each slideshow has a reference orientation point for time, space, expression. And you are unconsciously going through the pre-programmed flip that you have designed for your life. When you become conscious of it, you can slow that flip down, you can speed it up, you can change the next card to come in, you can make a choice about that. But that means you have to be aware and focused on the moment of the flipping. And I've played with this before. It's a fun concept to play with. So, Sue, with your card being the promise of the future, bring that into the present. Exist now in the present, as though this is what you're existing in. As though it is now, is here, is now. And that's what I'm getting for that. And Jessie, your card pulls next. The Energy Oracle deck. That feels right for you. Yes, I also, I know Dan, Guru Dan, did a healing session for her. I wasn't able to attend, but I in spirit was sending energy through with that as well, and have been kind of just trying to check in with her. And if anybody feels so inclined and wishes to support the PAP in this time, just imagine that you're holding her and loving her and supporting her and flowing that loving energy through her. It's really the best way that we can do any healing work in general. All right, and again, I'm so sorry about that. Oh, Jessie, now I thought you had asked for that. That's hilarious. Because as I was writing down the names of those who had asked, your name, I came up. They're like, remember Jessie's asking. Jessie asked. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I know what you were doing this morning. You mentioned it to me, and I think this is pretty apt. Blossoming abundance. It's interesting. There's so much more reflection on these cards right now from this angle. So, blossoming abundance, Jessie. Ooh, look at all that pink energy coming in. You are shifting and changing the way your money is being used and how you're using it and what you're doing with it and how you're participating and engaging in the world. Jessie is one. I'm gonna out you just a little bit, Jessie. When we first started talking, he was in a dark space. He was really struggling, and he contacted me and said, "I'm supposed to help you with dark stuff. That's what I do. I'm really good at it." And I was super reluctant to seek that, to allow that support. I'm kind of like, I don't know. My darkness is mine to deal with. And then I have to remember we're unity. We're all together in this. We're all working together. And he is is offering something that nobody offers me. Nobody offers me to support me in the dark things that I have to deal with. My life is not all light and roses, despite what it may seem. And it's one of the reasons I try to stay really transparent. It's one of the reasons I do this show. Because I think that's one of the greatest misconceptions that people can have about consciousness expansion work, is that suddenly your life is going to become better. And if it's not happy and joyous, then you're doing something wrong, and that it's time to disengage or to stop. There is no promise that life is supposed to be joyous and wonderful and happy. We have these times where we have to suffer and struggle, because that's where the balance lies. If you're all up here, if you're all the time up here in the light, always focusing on joy, always rejecting anything that pulls you out of joy in any way, well, you're coming in for a crash because you're out of balance. And it's really about balancing the polarity, not choosing one over the other. If we had no negative polarity, we wouldn't have current, we wouldn't have electricity, we wouldn't have any growth or development. That polarity is designed to create growth and development, to create understanding and awareness. I was just reading the other night, it was talking about if you're a person who feels elite, who feels better than, who feels above others, then you're going to continue reincarnating in other population groups in order for you to recognize you're all the same. There's no such thing as elite, right? And this happens also in the energy community often, too often for my comfort. There's this elite status. The same thing is happening in the liberalism. The same thing is happening politically. We're feeling superior to others because our viewpoint is correct. Our perspective is of the light. We are coming from love and light. And that term has even been corrupted in many ways. People, this one time, I'll give you an example. My son, I do a lot of volunteer work at my son's school, especially when I wasn't running businesses, and which I wasn't doing until he was like in middle school. End of elementary, I started a sewing business, but I was still at the school a lot. I volunteered between 2 and 4 days a week. I worked in the library. I taught knitting. I taught sewing. I taught whatever I could to interact with the kids to help bring compassion in. My son was getting bullied a lot at school, so I felt like I'm going to do what I can to bring in compassion, bring in awareness, and know the kids. So that I started being a room parent, where we organize and coordinate things and supporting. But this first year, I wasn't the official room parent. I didn't want to take on the responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility. So I was kind of like an adjunct room parent, and I would send out notes. I was the only parent going on our weekly field trips, which was a struggle because it's like every Thursday, all day long, you're outside in whatever the conditions are, working with the kids, which is a great experience, and I learned a lot and had a lot of fun and got to know the kids. But it was like every Thursday, and oftentimes I was the only one, and if I didn't go, the trip would have to be canceled. So like I sprained my ankle one time, and she tried to go on her own with 30 kids, 6th through 8th grade. It was a nightmare. She had to come home early from the trip, the teacher did, because she didn't have any support, and by law they can't even travel anyway. So I was really frustrated. I was frustrated because this class had the least amount of parent participation of any of our classes thus far at the school. It's a K through 8 school. And when you sign into the school, that's one of the things that they are very clear about, that they express. These programs, we're able to offer these awesome programs due to parent involvement and support. So I sent out this email. And I worked really hard to try to make it just sound really positive, and I was all, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to send out a note and let you guys know that this year has been the hardest year to organize and get people involved. And the year is almost over, and we have had hardly any participation in this field trip experience. I beckon you to look at your schedule and see if there's any possibility you can take a day off on a Thursday and come and support your kids. Come and support the class. It's an awesome experience. You get to meet all of these other people. You meet other children. You get to see the environment your kids are going to school in. You get to understand what they're learning and studying. And you get to see your kids in a way that you never would be. Yeah. So one of the parents, the father, he responded, and I can't remember how I signed it out. I think I said, I hope I'm not overstepping by sending this email out. That was how I started it. So his response was, and I sent it to the whole class, all of the parents, and to the teacher. His response, also sending it to all of the parents and the teacher as well, was, I hope I'm not overstepping when I tell you to fuck off. I was just like, what? And he called me emotionally manipulative and abusive, and who the hell do I think I am? I mean, he cussed me out in this email. And I responded back, and I was like, wow, I had no intention of guilt-tripping you or making you feel like you're a bad parent. I was trying to, in there I said, if it's possible, I recognize that many families have both parents working, that it's not possible for a lot of people to take time and days off. That's why I said, if it's at all possible. But that was my only response. And he signed it Love and Light, and he's a counselor. I was just like, wow, that's exactly what happens with these kind of people, where they get so focused on this love and light, they're not even aware of their own behavior, their own actions. And he's cussing me out in an email to everybody and signing his business and who he is and what he does. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I would just feel so concerned for people who see this guy as a counselor. Like, what is he guiding them to do? And so I stepped back, I was kind of like, well, all right, hey, I meant no disrespect for you, and clearly you're not able to, and thank God I don't want you around my kid. And so after that was it for me. I didn't participate anymore. But all of the other parents came forward, and I didn't have to go on another field trip that year because the parents all volunteered. He served so much better than I ever could have in my request, because he showed that arrogance, that disconnect, that entitlement, the expectation of others to deal with, the criticism. I mean, all of it was right there. Boom. This is what we're working against. And everyone championed forward, came forward, signed up for the trips. I went a couple times just because I did like going. And the kids and I have relationships. We've been working together since they were kindergartners. They know me. But I had so many parents approach me, even just in the neighborhood. You're Jessie, aren't you? I just wanted to tell you how horrible I thought that was, that guy did that to you. I want you to know I see you at the school all the time. I'm so grateful for everything you do. My kid loves you. They come home and talk about amazing conversations they have with you. And it was the most beautiful collective community experience where I was given all these confirmations of, no, what you've been doing is not unseen, is not unnoticed, is not unaware. And it was this beautiful, powerful abundance of love and support. I had, it was funny too, the principal even came up to me and she was like, I heard about that, and I just want you to know that guy has issues. And I was like, it's okay. I understand. She goes, do you want to know whose kid he is? And I said, no, absolutely not. I do not want to know who his child is. I don't ever want to treat her in any way differently because, and she said it was a girl, any way differently because of who her father is or what his issues or struggles are. I don't ever want to feel compelled to talk about it. And on the next field trip, I even had kids, like parents told their kids about this. They showed them the emails. And so kids were coming up to me and saying, Jessie, I just want you to know, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that you come in. And I thought that guy was mean. I thought that guy was so rude, So here that dark side is a critical component in the game of expansion, growth, and development. It's the rubber band being pulled back so you can slingshot forward and get to something different. So don't resist, but also, there's times where you kind of go, oh yeah, all done. Thank you, goodbye. I've learned from this and I'm moving forward. So it doesn't mean stick with the negative side, but don't resist it, right? Having some release around that, which is kind of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to shift into that. Yeah, that was all. I'm like, was there anything else in that card for Jessie? No, that was all. So I was actually feeling like that concept of protection, we had more to talk about around that. We talked about this on Thursday. State of allowance, protection, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to shift into right now. We've got a little bit more time. And I was talking with Jesse, and he asked me a question, and he posted a SpongeBob, and he was like, I don't know why I'm posting this, and you're going to explain it to me. And what it made me think of, I was just doing this reading where I was reading in the Raw Talks. He was talking about how we have to be in this state of allowance for things to occur. He was talking about actually the spiritual war that is occurring in that fourth density, where there is actually a battle going on. And when you start tapping into energy consciousness, I know for myself and several people who I've talked with, they get this sense of the spiritual war, this war between the light and the dark. And it's everything that I get, it's real. It is actually going on. The raw consciousness says that there are fourth density beings. And fourth density, mind you, so we have the third density, which is what we're shifting out of, which is understanding that we're one, that we're this one big unity being, that we're all together. Vashta Narada posted a video she recorded about 2 years ago where she referenced the cells and the community of the cells. I also talk about it in the Crystal Cocoon, where we're actually... we're trillions of cells, but we're outnumbered. We're not all trillions of human cells. We're 1 out of 10 every cells in our body is a human cell. The rest are bacteria, flora, fauna. So we're a community of multiple organisms, single cellular organisms, multicellular organisms that are all working together to create this vessel that we get to go through the world in. And it is because of that communication that happens just on an energetic level that we don't even experience it. When the communication is shut down, that's when we take note of it. And we have things like disease, mental disorders, struggles with emotions, struggle with environment, struggle with thought patterns. Those are all the results of poor communication between the full vessel and our energy. Blocking feelings, blocking thoughts, blocking emotions. So when we block things, it's not like they go away. We actually lock them up inside in some part of our body. And the more things that get locked in there, the bigger the lock becomes. And eventually it turns into a tumor, or it turns into a diseased organ, or it turns into, a heart attack, inflammation, right? It just depends on how you're storing. And it's going to come out, like that guy. It eventually came out. So we have this concept of protection. We're protecting ourselves from these things, but we're actually creating problems. We're protecting ourselves from the lessons that there are. And back to the SpongeBob analogy, in the Raw talks, they said that, the questioner was asking, if you have to know that we're all one, we're this unity consciousness, in order to go into fourth density, and whether you're in that service to the self, where I am the one, I'm the one, and you move forward in what we would consider a negative density, or we all are the one, and I am one cell in the massive organism of all, to go forward into that fourth density. Those two perspectives are still a part of the creation. And so as they move forward and into that fourth space, the I am the only one dude, this little thumb, is struggling because they don't get as much energy and light. So they have to control and dominate others to feel superior and elite and the one. Where this one, it's like the embracement of all. Right? So we've got this they fit together. But we've got these two separations, and they do actually battle. And the struggle is that the fourth density service to others has to balance their feeling of supporting and allowing the one to be a one, to feel truthful in the one with protection of the whole. And that's a tricky slope to dance on. And so in order to do so, we keep it really limited to how many actually are participating in that battle. So some of us feel like we're connected to that battle. Some of us feel like we're stuck in this war. We're stuck in this fight. We feel like we're being inundated by the evil. We feel like it's coming to us. And SpongeBob is like the most perfect analogy for that. I don't know if you've seen SpongeBob SquarePants. My son wasn't super into it, but I found it hilarious, and I actually used to watch it before I even had kids. And SpongeBob is the perfect example of the fool. He is completely moving forward in this way of total allowance and acceptance. Whatever pops in front of him, he's just like, wow, Patrick, did you see this? Oh my God, it's so awesome. Ah! And Patrick is all like, I don't know, that's scary. I don't know, that's not good, that's scary, right? So they're serving as this duality. And SpongeBob is always making everything amazing and awesome. Everything is always so perfect and happy and joyous. And even with like the Krabby, his boss at Krabby Patties and the people he works with and the people he encounters that can't frickin' stand him, can't stand how happy he is all the time, can't stand how much joy he brings to everything, can't stand how he never really feels defeated except for a few occasional times, where even that he embraces and loves and finds a way to bounce back from. A sponge. He allows himself to receive whatever's coming and flow through it. He doesn't resist it. So he's in that constant state of allowance. And that's what those fourth density warriors are doing. They have to love and accept that this one is as worthy and as valuable and as much a part of, and allow them to be a part of the whole, even though they identify only as the one, while balancing it with the rights of the others who are not in the one orientation, in the singular service to self orientation. So it's like and we talked about this before, the Fool, how it's my favorite card in the Tarot. We have this sense of protecting ourselves, and I do it too. I just had to say to a friend, there are two people in your life I don't ever want to really be exposed to again. And I love you, and I've learned what I need to from them. And I'm accepting that everything gets in the way. When you invite them to come with you to hang out with me, everything gets in the way. Nothing allows it to happen. So I'm accepting that to be true. And with one, I'm accepting it, where I tried to make it work. And with the other, I'm all, oh, heck no. No, all done. I do not need you. I've learned these lessons. I don't think it would ever line up anyway. So I too am in this process of understanding this balance of how much do I accept, how much do I allow, how much do I resist, right? What am I resisting really? Am I looking at all the lessons? And what I'm finding is that if I just kind of allow and I speak my truth, listen, these two dudes, they kind of make me uncomfortable. They make me uncomfortable in these ways. And I have a right to not be uncomfortable in these ways. I've gone through the motions. I've exposed myself. I'm not perfect, but I don't want to anymore. I'm choosing that there's going to be another lesson down the road if there's more to learn from that. And it may be from these guys, or it may be from some other guy or some other gal or some other situation. It may be from nothing at all just in my own head, right? Because we create a lot of those ourselves. So it's really balancing that allowance state with that embracement state. And I think that's what SpongeBob does. And I think that's why people love him. And I think that's why, even though it's a kids program, everybody enjoys it. You can't help but laugh with SpongeBob, even when you're laughing at him. I used to say, as a younger person, I would always say, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing in your general direction, because it's the whole thing, it's just so funny, and I think that's kind of what that's about. So that said, I talked a little bit longer. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. No, I'm not going to do it. So that said, let's do a little bit of a meditation on how we can deepen our states of allowance and deepen our sense of allowing and seeking with wonder and curiosity when we engage with the one orientation. And how can we envelop the one with the love and possibly transmute it, right? If it's possible. And if not, we at least allow that one to also be, a part of us. So that's awesome that he watches that. That's awesome. I'm not surprised at all that that's one that he will watch. I think that, Tweety Bird is another example of that. We have other examples in cartoon land where we've got that happening. But I don't think anything quite exemplifies it like SpongeBob does. So let's take a moment, coming into ourselves, checking our posture, checking and making sure we're sitting comfortably. If you need to stretch, or go ahead and do so. I'm going to. When we stretch and when we move, we're waking up those lines of connection. We're telling the nerves, start signaling, sending energy. So we're just going to check our posture, get comfortable. Oh, and I don't know if you guys have noticed lately, but I have been having, probably for the last 4 days now, I will get this sensation like I'm almost sitting on like one of those massage vibrating chairs in my seat, in my hips, going down my legs. And this is the energy coming from Gaia. This is our root connection, clearing, cleansing, and transitioning us with Gaia. Now, if you are resistant to it, you're going to find that you're having problems, you're having struggles, usually struggles around grounding. So things like feeling safe, feeling secure. You may be facing challenges in housing and money. That's the resistance to this new grounding energy. We hold that there. So if you've got that sensation of the vibration in the bum, vibration in the hips, vibration in the legs, allow it to come through and allow it to adjust you, okay? Allow that this is part of your adjustment. This is part of you transitioning and shifting with Gaia and moving into Gaia space. So we're also going to be taking note as we do this grounding and connecting of this different frequency that's coming up from Gaia right now. So bringing your attention into the soles of your feet, into your seat, or if you're laying down, into your back, along your spine. And allow your roots to start growing. Many of you already are. I love you guys. You're so good at this. Growing and sending those roots out. Alex, I'm getting this also has to do with your pup. So if you have an animal or person that you're working on healing, visualize their roots growing down effortlessly and gracefully. Sending more roots, sending them out wider. Remembering to breathe, keeping the breath moving, allowing it to get bigger. Imagine you're breathing in this circle that gets bigger each time you take a breath. Getting bigger and bigger. Feeling those roots reaching as we reach out for each other in this global community that we've been building over the last few months. Such a beautiful community. Reaching forward in time for those who are joining us later in time. And reaching back for all those who have been with us before. Spreading wider. And as we're spreading, we're also feeling the roots of those who've never grounded consciously, but somehow are, because all of us truly are, right? Reaching, supporting, and nourishing the full community. Letting that energy come up through the body, through the vessels. And at this point, I want you guys to imagine that energy is not just coming up through your cells that make your body, but coming up through the spaces between your cells. That interstitial space that's between the cells, that's between the pieces of the atoms. We've got these atoms that are actually 98% nothing, right? So empty space. We're actually mostly empty space, allowing this energy to come up through the space between, through the feet and the legs. Feel that difference that makes? It's pretty cool, huh? Bringing it up through the thighs. It's kind of washing through, cleansing and releasing, reattuning, adjusting the vibrations, bringing it up through the hips. And our hips is where we hold that, how do I move forward? What's my next step? Where am I going from here? What am I doing? Just thank it for holding all of that fear, that Patrick space. Bring a little SpongeBob into those hips. That SpongeBob's pretty flexible. Squeezes and expands, right? Just bringing that energy in. Good. Up through that sacral, through that lower belly space. This is where we express our passion, right? This is where we feel creativity, the fire in our belly. Let's just imagine that we've got a beautiful fire in that belly, fully supported by the coals of our root. held by those strong rocks, just like a fire pit. Letting that fire burn and grow, evaporating out and consuming all that's ready to be used. We don't have to store it anymore. It is winter. Bring out the wood. Bringing it up in through that solar plex space, allowing that fire, the top of those flames, to lick up into that solar plex, into that space of power, right? The sense of I am. This is who I am. I'm expressing myself through the world. I feel empowered in my ego, not driven by it, but allowance of it. We don't even have to protect ourselves from our own egos. You know who I'm talking to. Bringing that up into the heart space, letting that fire heat that heart, heat the cockles of our heart, right? Letting it warm that heart up. Just like when you start warming water, it expands into steam, allowing your heart to expand with this warmth. Remembering to breathe. Always be breathing. And as you're exhaling, imagine you're just exhaling that steam of heart energy out into this environment, sharing it with everybody. Bringing that energy up into the shoulders and sending it down the arms, all the way down and out the palms. Remember, if you're feeling called to move your body during this meditation, to do things like pulling the energy up, rotating it around, pushing things out, drawing in, your hands are supporting you. That's what pranic healing is, right? We can blend modalities. We can pull these tools that are so powerful. Sending that energy out through the palms, radiating it out through our chakras. Sending it out, bringing that energy up through that throat, through our speaking space, our truth communicating space. This is the interpretive space between our thought and our feeling, right? The space between. Letting that energy come up through the head, up into that, that mind space. Excuse me. There's something here. Somebody has been struggling with speaking. A few somebodies, actually. Recognize that if you're not speaking your truth, there's a service in that too. I'm going to support that for just a minute because this is uncomfortable. So for that person, I'm getting there's 3 of you right now who has this kind of raspy, tight, right here area. Allow that to be there. It's teaching you, and it's one of your sides. It's feminine energy side, right? So imagine that you've got this mother goddess, divine mother, the divine feminine holding and supporting your throat while you decide how much of this truth you're ready to speak. Because if you're not ready to speak it, it means you haven't yet learned your internal lessons. And it's time to take what you want to say and apply it to self before expecting the external to shift and change. Before expecting the others to shift and change, or recognizing that by expressing to the others, you're really speaking to the greater self as well. This is that interplay between service to others and service to self. And it's why we are allowed to be 48% service to self oriented and still move forward in this progression, while we're still service to others as our slight predominance. So recognizing that sometimes by serving others, by speaking out to others, we are serving ourselves, and we get to clear this line more. That feels much better. So bringing our focus back and that energy up through that head space. This space where we try to interpret these things that we see, that we intuit, that we believe, right? Our heart has as complex of a nervous system as our brain does. We call it that parasympathetic nervous system. We learn in science that that is an auto response system. It's designed to keep the physiology working. But this system is just as thought-provoking, just as intuitive as this one is. But we get stuck up here, and that's part of what our culture and our system teaches us to do. It teaches us to stay focused up here. Everything keeps this re-engaged. A lot of our social media, our television, our commercials, they're stimulant-oriented driven. You know, they actually track per minute how many flashes in the screen to re-engage the brain and keep you re-engaged, rechecked in, retuned in, and up here. So this space gets really congested. That's why so many of us have problems with headaches, migraines, a feeling of disconnection. So just letting that Gaia energy come up and support this headspace as that energy flushes up and through the spaces between your thoughts, through the spaces between the cells. Each neuron actually has a gap between it. It's called the synaptic gap. And it's this space between the two nerve cells, and they send signals across the gap. And this receives and this sends, or this sends and this receives. So they're actually playing catch. Let's clear out those spaces between our cells, between the communication. Clear the line, flushing and cleansing up into the crown space. Feeling that energy bundling and collecting in the crown. Now your crown, you don't have to consciously do anything to your crown. Your crown is a reflection of everything else there is. So allowing the crown to bundle and collect and open as it's ready. Sending that energy up, allowing it to go up and connect into source consciousness, into that infinite collective consciousness of all there is. Connecting into that source. And allowing that love that source has for us as being a part of itself. Our recognizing our piece of it recognizing its piece of us. This connection, this unity. Allow that unity awareness to flow down. Remember, we're working in the spaces between right now. So that unity and communication between, allow it to flow down through the headspace, down through the throat chakra, in this space of communicating, seeing, speaking, flowing down through the throat, into the chest and arms, sending that out. Sending that connection, that unity connection to the allow the polarity in the space between down through the heart space and down through that sacral space. Yep. In that solar plex, I am, we are, allow all of that energy of the three of you, Source, Gaia, you, to come together in this sense of personal power, empowerment, bringing it down into the sacral, into those fires in the belly, the passion, the excitement, the creativity, bringing it down into the seat, into your root, down, allowing yourself to reconnect Gaia and Source and their infinite play with each other as you serve and you are part of that play. I love you guys. Remember to play in the spaces between. You can communicate in the spaces between. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you next time.